You know that moment when you're staring at two meal options and you just can't pick one? Or when your colleague asks a simple question and your brain feels like it's moving through mud? It's 3 in the afternoon and suddenly the smallest choices feel impossible. You probably think you're just tired, or distracted, or that you're not trying hard enough to stay sharp. But here's what's actually happening. Your brain has been making decisions all day, and every single one of them costs something. Let's back up. Think about your morning. You woke up and decided when to get out of bed. You chose what to wear. You picked what to eat. You decided which tasks to start with. You answered emails and chose how to respond to each one. You agreed to a meeting time. You selected a route to work or a place to sit. You made a call about whether to speak up in a conversation or stay quiet. None of these feel like decisions. They feel automatic, but your brain is processing each one. And each one takes energy. This is where most people get it wrong. We think decision-making is about intelligence or willpower. We think if we just focus harder, we'll keep making good choices all day long. We treat our mind like it's a muscle that gets stronger the more we use it. But research shows the opposite. Your brain doesn't get stronger with more decisions. It gets depleted. There's a reason for this. Every time you make a decision, your brain has to evaluate options, predict outcomes, weigh preferences, and override impulses. That process requires glucose. It requires mental resources, and those resources are limited. This isn't about being weak. It's about how the system works. You start the day with a certain capacity, and as you move through your decisions, that capacity shrinks. Here's what that looks like in real life. You handle a complicated work problem in the morning with clarity. You think through the details, you consider alternatives, you make a solid call. Then later, someone asks if you want tea or coffee, and you feel paralyzed. The second decision is objectively easier, but it feels harder because you've already spent your resources. Or think about this. You're fine all day at work. You're focused. You're handling things. You're keeping it together. Then you get home and your partner asks what you want for dinner and you snap at them. Not because you're angry, but because you have nothing left to give to one more choice. People blame themselves for this. They think they're being difficult or unreasonable. They don't realize their brain has been working all day and it's simply running low. And it's not just big decisions that drain you. It's the small ones too. In fact, the small ones might be worse because there are so many of them. Choosing which tab to close, deciding whether to reply now or later, picking which task to do next, choosing where to look, what to ignore, how to phrase something. You're making hundreds of these micro decisions and you don't even notice, but your brain does. Here's the uncomfortable part. You can't avoid this. You can't just decide to be better at deciding, because the act of trying to preserve your decision-making energy is itself another decision. You also can't recover instantly. Taking a 5-minute break doesn't reset you. Drinking water doesn't refill the tank. Your brain needs real rest. It needs time away from choice. And this explains something most people don't connect. It explains why you open the fridge and stare at it, why you scroll on your phone instead of picking something to watch, why you feel irritable when someone asks you simple questions late in the day. You're not being lazy. You're not broken. You're depleted. Now, this doesn't mean you're incapable. It doesn't mean every evening decision is doomed. It just means your brain is working with less than it had this morning. And that's normal. It also doesn't mean you can use this as an excuse to avoid responsibility. You still have to make decisions. You still have to function. But understanding what's happening helps you stop blaming yourself for something that's predictable. Here's what most people don't realize. The difficulty isn't random. It follows a pattern. And once you see the pattern, you stop thinking something is wrong with you. You start to notice it. You notice that morning meetings feel easier to navigate. You notice that you're sharper with complex problems earlier in the day. You notice that by evening, even deciding what to click on feels like effort. And maybe you also notice this. The decisions that feel hardest aren't always the ones that matter most. Sometimes it's the trivial ones that stop you in your tracks, because your brain doesn't save energy for important moments. It just runs low. This is why people can handle a crisis at work and then struggle to choose a shirt. The crisis happened when they still had capacity. The shirt happened when they didn't. Think about the pattern of your own day. You probably make your best decisions in the first few hours. You're clear-headed. You can weigh options. You can think ahead. Then slowly, without realizing it, things start to feel heavier. Not dramatically, just gradually. By afternoon, you're still functioning. You're still getting things done. But the quality of your decision-making has shifted. You start choosing the path of least resistance. You say yes when you mean maybe. You avoid decisions by delaying them. You pick the first option just to be done with it. And by evening, you're running on fumes. Simple questions feel overwhelming. You don't want to choose where to eat or what to watch or whether to go out or stay in. You want someone else to decide, because deciding feels like lifting something heavy. This is also why arguments happen more at night. It's not that the issues are bigger, it's that your ability to navigate them is smaller. You're less patient, less flexible, less able to consider another perspective. Your brain is protecting what little energy it has left. Research also shows something else. The quality of your decisions changes as the day goes on. You don't just make fewer decisions, you make different kinds of decisions. You become more impulsive, more likely to stick with the default, more likely to choose immediate relief over long-term benefit. Judges show this pattern too. Studies on parole decisions found that judges are more likely to grant parole earlier in the day. As the day goes on, they default to the safer choice, which is denial. Same judge, same types of cases, different outcomes based on time of day. That's not about fairness or logic. That's about mental depletion. And you see this in yourself if you pay attention. You might skip the gym in the evening even though you plan to go, not because you don't care, but because deciding to go requires energy you don't have. You might order takeout even though you have food at home, not because you're lazy, but because cooking requires a series of decisions, and you're tapped out. People think this is a character flaw. They think they lack discipline or commitment, but it's not about character, it's about capacity. Here's the thing that makes this harder. Modern life doesn't account for this. Your job expects you to perform at the same level all day. Your relationships expect you to be present and responsive. Your own expectations tell you that you should be able to handle normal things without falling apart. But your brain wasn't designed for this. It wasn't designed to make constant decisions from the moment you wake up until the moment you sleep. It wasn't designed to choose between 17 types of coffee or scroll through endless options on every platform. You're living in a world that demands more decisions than your brain was built to handle. And then you blame yourself when you can't keep up. There's no fix for this, no hack that makes it go away. Your brain will keep working this way because that's how it's built. But there's something quieter here, something that shifts when you understand it. You stop fighting yourself. You stop wondering why you can't just hold it together. You see that you've been holding it together all day. And this heaviness, this slowness, this inability to choose isn't failure. It's just what happens when your brain has been working, and it's been working more than you think.